Welcome to the class, students. Today we are going to discuss chapter 5, separation of substances. Let's warm up. Separate the similar things by putting numbers in the suitable column. So you can do it by yourself. Let's know about components of a mixture, methods of separation of substances from mixtures, insoluble solids in liquids, need for separation of substances from mixture, solution. Now, components of a mixture. Many things that we see and use every day are a mixture of different things. Soil is a mixture of sand, clay, pebbles, wood, and rotting plants. Rocks are a mixture of different minerals. Air is a mixture of many gases, mainly nitrogen and oxygen. A mixture is a combination of two or more substances that mix together without any chemical reaction take place. So students, mixture क्या है? जब हम किसी दो या दो से ज्यादा substances को mix करते हैं लेकिन without any chemical reaction. Okay? The substances which make up a mixture are called its components. For example, granules, sugar and water are the components of tea. Separation of the components of a mixture. Generally, desirable or undesirable components are separated from their mixtures. For example, tea leaves are separated from tea by using a strainer. Seeds. Look at this picture. Tea leaves are separated by using a strainer. Butter is separated from milk by churning. Come to the next. Seeds are separated from fruits like apple, orange, etc. while eating. Gardeners remove stones from the soil. Stones and husks are removed from rice before cooking. Have you seen someone churning milk to obtain butter? So students, these are the things कि हम अपने खाने से पहले कुछ चीजों को अलग अलग करते हैं, जैसे सीड्स को फ्रूट से अलग करते हैं, गार्डनर सॉइल से स्टोन से अलग करता है. So these are the different things. Okay. Why do we separate mixtures? Tell me students, are you know about it? Let's know about it. Components of a mixture are separated for many reasons. Some of them are as follows: to remove undesirable or harmful substances, to obtain a useful substance from a raw material, to separate different useful components of a mixture. So these are the 3 points जिनके लिए हम mixtures को separate करते हैं. Okay. Here, methods of separation of substances from mixtures. To separate the components of mixtures, we make use of the properties of the components. We cannot separate components of different mixtures using the same method. So students, हम components को जब भी अलग करते हैं mixture से तो उनकी properties का use करते हैं और हम हर mixture के component को same method से separate नहीं कर सकते. Let's now study different methods used to separate the components of various of mixtures. Look here, a mixture of two or more solids. A mixture of two or more solids can be separated by using following methods: hand picking, threshing, winnowing, sieving. Let us understand these methods with the help of some activities. Hand picking. Hand picking is a method where components of a mixture are separated with hands. This method is used when the components are big enough to be picked with hands and few in number. For example, hand picking can be used for separating a small stone from rice or pulses. This method is also used to pick tea leaf from tea plantations. Get it students? So hand picking हम कब use करते हैं? एक तो हमारे पास small amount में कोई चीज हो, like हमें घर में खाना बनाना है तो हम राइस को साफ कर लेंगे, उसमें से कोई स्टोन या कुछ भी हाथ से निकाल देंगे. बट बड़े अमाउंट के मिक्सचर्स के लिए हम अलग मशीन्स और मेथड्स यूज करते हैं. लुक एट दिस पिक्चर. हैंड पिकिंग यूज्ड फॉर टी लीफ फ्रॉम टी प्लांटेशंस. हियर threshing. When a farmer harvests wheat or paddy crop, he gets a large number of stalks mixed with grains. Many grains are attached to the stalk. These grains have to be separated from the stalks. In order to separate them from stalks, the stalks are threshed, beaten on a wooden board. Machines, threshers and bullocks are also used to separate the grains. This process used to separate grains from stalks is called threshing. So students, आजकल threshing machine से होती है और threshing process क्या है? Grains को stalk से अलग करना. Here is winnowing. You must have visited a village and seen a farmer winnowing as shown in the figure. A farmer, after harvesting the wheat from the field, threshes it to loosen the chaff from the grain inside. The chaff is lighter and the grain is heavier. Therefore, on a windy day, the farmer allows the mixture of chaff and grain to fall from a height. The chaff being lighter blows with the wind to a distance, while the grain being heavier falls down. The farmer gets two separate heaps of chaff and grain. Look at this picture. Winnowing. This method is winnowing. This process of separating the wheat grain from chaff is called winnowing. Activity 1. Aim to separate mixture of dry sand and bits of waste paper by winnowing. Materials required: bits of waste paper, dry sand, a stool and a cardboard. Procedure: mix some bits of waste paper with dry sand. Place this mixture on a cardboard. Now stand on a stool and allow the mixtures to fall down slowly. Keep shaking the cardboard continuously. What do you observe? Look at this picture. Bits of paper, dry sand. Observation: the bits of paper are carried away by wind and dry sand falls down vertically and forms a heap. Conclusion: a mixture of dry sand and bits of paper can be separated by winnowing. Get it, students? Here is sieving. Sieving is a method of separating a mixture of various sized particles by passing them through a suitable sieve. You must have seen your mother sieving the floor. Sieving removes grain impurities present in the floor. Similarly, pebbles are separated from sand by using a larger sieve at a construction site. We can use sieving as a method of separation only if the components of a mixture are of different size. Get it, students? Look at the pictures. Sieving floor, sieving sand. The process of sieving. Here we have check and mate. As you already read about these things, so you can do it by yourself. Insoluble solids in liquids. Some solids are soluble in liquids while others are not. A mixture of insoluble solids in liquids can be separated using methods like sedimentation, decantation and filtration. Here is sedimentation and decantation. Let us do an activity. Look here, students. Activity 2. Aim to separate the mixture of insoluble solids in liquids by sedimentation and decantation. Look at the picture, students. Here, materials required: 6 test tubes, sand, ice and water and a test tube stand. Procedure: take 3 test tubes and make these mixtures. Mixture of sand and water, test tube A. Mixture of ice in water, test tube B. Mixture of dal in water, test tube C. Observe whether sand, rice and dal have settled down in the respective test tubes. Now and from water by slowly test tubes A and pouring the water into another test tube without disturbing the sand. Repeat the activity with test tube B and C. Observation: the 3 mixtures obtained are mixtures of insoluble solids in liquids. Sand, rice and dal settle down in the respective test tubes. They are separated from water by slowly tilting the test tube. The water obtained by separating the mixture of sand and water is not absolutely clear. Small particles of sand can be seen floating in it. Conclusion: a mixture of insoluble solid in a liquid can be separated by sedimentation and decantation. So स्टूडेंट्स, क्या है, सपोज आप सैंड और वाटर को मिक्स करते हैं, आप उस मिक्सचर को कुछ देर के लिए छोड़ दें तो क्या होगा, सैंड आपका सेटल डाउन हो जाएगा, दैट इज सेडिमेंटेशन. उसके बाद जो पानी, दैट मीन्स जो वाटर आपकी टेस्ट ट्यूब में ऊपर होगा, आप उसको धीरे धीरे दूसरी टेस्ट ट्यूब में ट्रांसफर करेंगे, दैट इज डिकेंटेशन. ओके, द सब्सटेंस सेटल्स एट द बॉटम ऑफ अ लिक्विड इज कॉल्ड अ सेडिमेंट and the process of settling down of sediment is called sedimentation. The process of pouring out of liquid without disturbing the sediments is called decantation. Here is filtration. Let us now try another method to separate a mixture of sand and water. Activity 3. Aim to understand filtration. Things required: filter paper, funnel, beaker. Method: take a filter paper available in the laboratory. Fold the paper as shown in the given diagram below. Put it in a glass funnel. The filter paper should be folded into a cone and should be put a few millimeters below the rim of the glass funnel. Look at this picture. That's how you have to fold the filter paper and set it like this. Take the water collected after decantation, gradually pour water into the funnel. Observe the water collected in the beaker after filtration. Water collected after filtration would be clearer as compared to the water obtained after decantation. Minute impurities which were not separated by decantation are retained in the filter paper. गेट इट स्टूडेंट्स. तो क्या होता है, जब हम फिल्टर पेपर से वाटर को पास कराते हैं, डिकेंटेशन वाला जो हमारे पास होता है वो हमें क्लियर दिखाई देता है. क्यों? क्योंकि उसमें जो माइन्यूट पार्टिकल्स होते हैं वो आपका फिल्टर पेपर एब्जॉर्ब कर लेता है. गेट इट स्टूडेंट्स. दिस मेथड ऑफ सेपरेटिंग सैंड एंड वाटर बाय यूजिंग अ फिल्टर पेपर इज कॉल्ड फिल्ट्रेशन. Filtration is a physical process which is used for the separation of solids suspended in liquids by putting a device called a filter, through which only the liquid can pass. Solid impurities bigger than the perforations of the filter are retained on the surface of the filter. These are called the residue. The liquid obtained after filtration is called the filtrate. Insoluble liquids in liquids. We cannot separate a mixture of two liquids that do not mix with each other by filtration. These two liquids can be separated by using the method of decantation. We can use a separating funnel to separate a mixture of mustard oil and water. Do you know? Water can dissolve many substances, that mean solids, liquids, and even gases. It is therefore known as a universal solvent. Here is activity 4. Aim to separate a mixture of mustard oil and water by using a separating funnel. Materials required: a mixture of mustard oil and water, a separating funnel, an iron stand, and 2 beakers. Look at this picture. That's how you have to set your setup of instruments. Here is procedure. Pour the mixture containing mustard oil and water into a separating funnel. Allow it to stand for some time. Note your observations. Now place the beaker below the separating funnel as shown in the figure and open the stopcock. Allow the water to flow through it. When all the water flows through it, close the stopcock. Observation: mustard oil and water form two separate layers. Water forms the lower layer and mustard oil forms the upper layer. On opening the stopcock, water flows through it and gets collected in the beaker, and mustard oil remains in the separating funnel, which can be collected in a separate beaker. Conclusion: a mixture of mustard oil and water can be separated by using separating funnel. So students, क्या है, देखो हर एक लिक्विड मिक्स नहीं होते हैं. So जो लिक्विड मिक्स नहीं होते हैं उनको हम सेपरेट करते हैं with the help of separating funnel. Liquids that mix with each other are called miscible liquids. Water and milk are miscible liquids. The liquids that do not mix with each other are called immiscible liquids. Oil and water are immiscible liquids. Here is soluble solids in liquids. We can separate a soluble solid from a liquid by the following method. Evaporation. There are many solids that dissolve in water. Salt and sugar dissolve completely in water. But can we separate salt or sugar from water by any of the methods of separation studied till now? No. To separate salt or sugar from water, we use a method called evaporation. Evaporation is the process of converting water into water vapors. The process of evaporation is used to recover a solid component that has dissolved in water or some other liquid. The dissolved solid is left behind as a residue when the liquid evaporates. So students, देखो क्या होता है, अगर आप salt और sugar को mix करते हैं water में तो क्या होगा, वो easily mix हो जाते हैं, आपको दिखाई नहीं देते हैं. That means वो miscible है. That means वो एक proper solution form करते हैं. Okay. अब इससे क्या होगा कि अगर आपको कोई बोले salt और water को अलग कर दो, क्या आप कर सकते हो? Yes. किससे? Evaporation से. Evaporation क्या करता है? Normally evaporation होता है liquid को गैस में चेंज करने का प्रोसेस. सो वो वाटर को किस में चेंज कर देता है? वाटर वेपर्स में. और जो आपके पास रेजिड्यू लेफ्ट होता है दैट इज सोल्ट. सो इस तरह आप जो सॉल्यूशन फॉर्म कर सॉल्ट, वाटर और शुगर और वाटर का, उसे आप सेपरेट कर सकते हैं. लेट्स लर्न दिस विद द हेल्प ऑफ एन एक्टिविटी. Activity 5. To separate mixture of salt and water. Materials required: a china dish, a sprit lamp, a tripod stand, a wire gauze, a stirrer, water and salt. Procedure: take some water in a china dish, add a teaspoonful of salt to it. Stir the mixture well. Now heat the china dish containing the mixture of salt and water till the water evaporates. Look at this picture. That's how you have to mix the water and salt, then heat it. Observation: the water evaporates and salt is left in the china dish. Conclusion: salt can be separated from the mixture of salt and water by evaporation. Here, seawater has common salt dissolved in it. Many other salts are also dissolved in it. To separate common salt from seawater, the sea, look at this picture first. Common salt being gathered from swallow pits. Okay, students? Now, the sea water is trapped in swallow pits and is left in the sun for long. The sun's heat evaporates all the water, leaving the salts behind. This mixture of salts is then purified to obtain common salt. A substance that dissolves in a liquid is called a solute. Here, salt is the solute. The substance in which a solute dissolves is called a solvent. Here, salt dissolves in water, so water is the solvent. Get it, students? Now come to the next: solution. A solution is a homogeneous mixture of a solvent and a solute. Solutions form the medium in which many chemical reactions are carried out. Here is solubility. Solubility is the maximum amount of a substance dissolved in a given volume of solvent. Get it, students? Here, a saturated solution is the one in which no more solute dissolved as it has reached its maximum solubility. Here, factors affecting solubility. Stirring. Solutes dissolves faster in the solvent when the solution is stirred. Solute in powdered form. Solute in powdered form dissolves faster. Temperature. Solubility of a solute increases when temperature increases. Solutes can be separated from a saturated solution by the method of crystallization. Here, the salt-water mixture is collected in pits and evaporated in the sun. Second, as evaporation begins, both soluble and insoluble impurities, including salt, settle at the bottom. Third, salt is washed in salt water and then in fresh water. Here, for 2 to 3 months, salt is drained, stable salt is washed again, drained and dried. Get it, students? So this is the process of getting salt from seawater. Here, crystallization. Crystallization is the process of separation of solid solute crystals from a homogeneous solution. Evaporation is used for the commercial manufacture of salt. The process of manufacturing of salt is given here. A substance that dissolves in a liquid is called a solute. Here, the salt is the solute. The substance in which a solute dissolves is called a solvent. Here, the salt dissolves in water, so water is the solvent. What we learn in this chapter, now we will discuss it in a nutshell. Materials which contains 2 or more substances in any proportion are known as mixtures. Separation of components of a mixture is carried out to either remove impurities or to obtain 2 different useful components. Handpicking, threshing, winnowing and sieving are some methods through which a mixture of 2 or more solids can be separated. The method of separating mixture into its components by hand is called handpicking. The process used to separate grains from a stalk is called threshing. Winnowing is a method used by farmers to separate husk from grains. Sieving is a method of separating mixtures of various sized particles by passing them through a suitable sieve. Sedimentation is the process of settling down of big particles in a mixture of solid and a liquid. Decantation is the process of removing the liquid above the sediment in a mixture of solid and a liquid. Here is keywords. Residue, the substance that remains on the filter paper. Filtrate, the liquid that flows through the filter paper. Solute, the component present in a smaller quantity in a mixture. Solvent, the component present in a large quantity in a mixture. Thank you, students. We will meet again in the next chapter.